Talk the Talk with Bill Newman and Buzz Eisenberg, WHMP.
We continue our conversation with Northampton Mayor Gina-Louise Sciarra. Explain this to me, please. Tell us about capital outlays and how that is part of the budgeting process, because there's been a lot of claims made, and I think a lot of misinformation as well about capital outlays versus the regular operating budget. And listeners, don't let your eyes glaze over. This actually really matters.
I'll try and make it as interesting as possible. So we have what's called a capital improvement program. That is a 5-year annually recurring program. So it lays out 5 years going forward of what we think our capital needs will be and estimates of what they're going to cost and how we're going to pay for it. And then each year we redo that program. And
Stop there.
Okie dokie.
Because capital needs, I'm sure half the audience just close their eyes and put their head down on the table. What's a capital need? What's a capital expenditure? What are we talking about?
So a capital expenditure is something over $10,000 that involves our infrastructure, our buildings, our any of our needs in the city that we need to invest in with one-time funds. This is not something that's a recurring expense. It's a one-time fund or buying, let's say, a truck for the DPW. Stuff, buildings, infrastructure. And the investment that you make in it needs to then extend the life of that thing for 5 to 10 years, depending on what the thing is. So it's an investment in the things that keep our city going.
And we have to have fire trucks for the fire department. We have to actually have cruisers for the police department. We have to have infrastructure.
We have 6 school buildings, and then Smith Voc has their buildings. These are all things that need to be kept up and have needs constantly.
Right, and if you delay, what happens is the expense magnifies multiple times. Delayed maintenance is a disaster potential for cities.
Yes, and we have decades of deferred maintenance from times when we weren't able to invest in capital.
Okay, so capital outlay.
So our capital improvement program is actually also in our charter, and it's on a different timeline. So in the charter, it has to come to the city council at least 120 days before the start of the fiscal year. And we, like many cities, we do these as 2 separate processes. These are both really big projects. A lot of towns do them together, their capital and their budget, but that's because they have to bring it to town meeting. We do it as 2 separate things and on different timetables for a reason, both because they're both very labor-intensive projects for the departments. Also, we do the capital improvement program earlier because we get a better, we have to send things out to bid, and we get better contracts. If we're bidding at the end of the fiscal year in the summer, we also have in New England, you have a limited time where you can do a lot of these projects. A lot of these projects are also school projects. You have to do them in the summer. So if you're getting your funds approved in June and you can't go out to bid till June, that's going to delay you a whole year. Also, what happens during that time is when we build the program, we get estimates of what we think these projects are going to cost. But then you go out to bid, and sometimes the bids sometimes they're lower, but often they're higher. And the longer time between estimate and bidding, the higher, the larger increase. And then you need to go back and get more funding for these projects. So there are many advantages to doing capital improvement earlier in the year.
Okay, so what is the response to you shouldn't be paying for capital projects? We need all this money that we can get for the schools now. And you've obviously increased the school spending a lot, more than any other mayor at any other time. But that said, people say, well, it's not enough. Take the money from capital outlays. That sounds unimportant compared to kids. What's the answer?
Well, as I said before, capital is funded by one-time funds, right? So this is one-time revenue sources for these finite projects. So it comes from stabilization funds. It comes from borrowing. It comes from our enterprises. These are not from the general fund. So it's really a false narrative to say that you're taking money from the general fund. The money for capital doesn't come from the general fund. It's not for the operating of our city, which is what the general fund is for.
And with regard to the enterprise funds, as I understand it now, enterprise funds are actually not paid for by tax revenues. They're paid for their fees for that fund. So water and sewer fees. It doesn't come from the Northampton budget at all. You can't raid enterprise funds and take that money for something else.
And they have their own reserve stabilization funds that
Absolutely
you can't
right.
take from.
Correct. That is all correct. Excellent job, the two of you.
Okay, we passed, Buzz. We passed.
Yay, for once.
Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate you coming in for Mayor's Monday.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.